Hello and welcome to Delhi Decides. This is Prabhat Shukla and Ifra Mufti from the New Indian Express. And in this first edition of Delhi Decides, we'll be discussing about the problems faced by Delhi's urban poor, namely the ones living in Delhi's slums and the many villages in Delhi. There are over 675 slums in the city and more than 350 villages. And as a result, all three major parties have been focusing on this electorate, as it's a very important part. So we've done an in-depth reporting talking about the issues that matter to the city's urban poor, and we'll be discussing about those. But first, let's look at what are these problems that we're talking about. Ifra, can you tell us what are the major problems that these places face?
Okay, so basically in our Cityscape, which we do on a weekly basis, we did a complete in-depth reporting and a ground reporting specifically that I'll say, covering major villages and the urban villages I'll say and the slum areas of the national capital. It's very surprising and unfortunate that the massive challenges that these people are facing continue to be the same for the past 10 or 11 years. Nothing has been changed so far. And I believe the very common issue that I believe both of us have found is the toilet issue. That's like very common, but there are people who are actually, and in this generation also, and in this time period when, we have wonderful facilities at home, but looking at them, these people coming from the slum areas and the juggies, they still wake up at 6 a.m. and in the middle of nights also, then they go out 1 kilometer away from their homes just to use the loos. And that is very unfortunate. And in fact, children as young as 4 or 5 year old also have to move out their homes just to use the washrooms. And that is very disturbing. And that's like, and there are people, this kind of facility causes open defecation in those small cluster areas, and which becomes a major hygiene problem. And there again, I'll say that unfortunate because there are hardly any politician coming to these areas and visiting the inner lanes, which we have actually visited and seen people kind of doing the open defecation that I've seen. Children, including the adults also, who come drinking at any point of time at their homes and just don't have loos at their homes as well, and no water facilities exactly. So I believe there are several other points, not only the washroom issue, but there are several other points which are yet to be addressed. But this is something which continues and has never been addressed by any other politician. Any other in the sense that no politician is talking about the washroom issue, that we're going to give them washrooms. We have done so many interviews so far in the past 1 week. The politicians majorly talk about that we'll give them homes, we'll give them pakka houses. But what about the basic facility that is a toilet, a toilet for children, for adults, for women specifically, who really need them at part of times. There's one example I'd love to share here in this, that there was one 7-month pregnant lady in Trilokpuri constituency, and she already has 7 children at home. That's we have mentioned in our story as well. And she had to use a washroom, and she goes out that's like half a kilometer away from her home. There's a shauchalayas being made by the government, which are not maintained at all. But in the middle of night, in the morning 6 a.m., she's going out, moving out of her home, and at a juggi which is like ill-maintained completely. There's this major structural mishappenings in those areas which are really need concerned, which really need concerns by the politicians, or I believe for any member of the MCD or NDMC that's taking care of all of these juggis. So it's very difficult to see all of these things. And second issue which we found out was common was health. Health is the major impact that has impacted all of the children specifically. There are, I found many children with the ringworms, like they had worms inside their rings, which are really like all of that boils on their hands. That was something very common, and the parents told us that it is because of the water that we drink and that we use for hand washing, etc. So I believe that little issues needs to be addressed by the politicians. So these two, apart from these two issues, I'll ask Prabhat to further carry on about the slum, because he visited the urban villages. So probably he'll be able to explain further what exactly and what are the problems, because urban villages also continue to be rural areas because of certain issues and certain high court issues as well. So please, Prabhat.
So for my reporting, I've mostly focused on the freebie question because, as we know, the city's politics has been dominated by this freebie issue since the Aam Aadmi Party came to power. But now, what makes it different is all three major parties have jumped on the bandwagon. Even the Congress and the BJP are offering multiple freebies. You can even say all three parties have the same schemes. So the question is, will it make an impact? Is it enough to woo the voters in these urban villages and slums? So I've visited various urban villages in south of Delhi, including Devli and Sangam Vihar. And during my reporting there, I asked them about how they've benefited or whether they've benefited from these freebies the AAP government has given. And many were very positive about it. I talked to one lady and she mentioned how not paying electricity bill over the years, because her family does not own an AC, so they don't consume that much electricity, so they don't have to pay any power bills nor any water bills. And then they use the free bus rides and the free mohalla clinics, and it has been, according to them, it has made a significant impact in their lives. But at the same time, there are others. I talked to another person who was an auto driver in Devli, and he seems to think that this will not change their reality. And he pointed out to all those problems that Ifra has mentioned, which is same all over Delhi, all the sanitation issues and constant waterlogging. And he said this has not changed over the last few decades, no matter which party is in power, no matter what freebies they offer. And also this is not providing them with any employment. So he said that it's just a bribe that's given by parties and it's not going to do anything to change the situation. So we cannot say conclusively whether the residents of these areas will be wooed by freebie politics. But apart from the freebies, the parties have also tried to, at least you could say a political slugfest is going on in these areas, because the BJP has been, for the past 5 months, has been trying to encamp themselves in the slum areas and trying to tell the residents about all the problems that Ifra has mentioned, and trying to blame the Aam Aadmi Party for it. And at the same time, the Aam Aadmi Party is saying that many problems like slum demolitions, which were carried out by the DDA under the central government, so they keep pointing to those aspects of it. So they're trying to score points, as many points as possible.
I'll interrupt here because recently in our interview, BJP candidate from the New Delhi constituency, Parvesh Verma, also mentioned a similar thing about the 22 camps in the New Delhi constituency near Kidwai Nagar. So these 22 camps has around 17,000 voters. That's what he mentioned. But in all over this thing, 22 camps when they have 17,000 voters, they only have around 8 to 10 water taps. That's kind of very pity to think about it, that only 8 to 10 water taps for around 17,000 voters. It's very difficult. Only 4 washrooms for 1,000 people. That's what I mean to say, that there's a blame game going on. Nobody's really working on the ground reality, that what has to be done and what exactly is the conclusion to this, I believe.
Thank you so much for listening to us. This has been Prabhat Shukla and Ifra Mufti from the New Indian Express. Please continue following us for more coverage about the Delhi elections.